to discuss what the Department of Agriculture is doing to combat the avian flu. That would be the H5N1 flu. Let's bring in new Secretary of Agriculture, Brooke Rollins. Secretary, it's so great of you to be here. Coming from where you come from and where I come from, this is front and center for families, working families who raise chickens and lay-in hens. My question first is, will vaccinations of egg-laying hens against the H5N1 become part of the standard practice to fight this virus?
Well, first of all, Dagan, what a joy to be on with you. It's been a little while, but there is no question this is one of the top issues facing our country right now. I think what's really important for all of the friends out there who are watching this show to understand that, listen, this didn't happen overnight. Right. We didn't go from an average of $2 a dozen eggs to $3 a dozen eggs and up, really until the last administration. And then you had a 37-month, month-over-month, the highest price for a dozen eggs in 40 years, all happened under the Biden administration. Yep. So, to your point, listen, the avian flu has been devastating to the egg laying, to the poultry industry. And we at USDA are tomorrow going to be rolling out a plan that addresses the avian flu directly. But I do think it's really important for everyone to understand that this problem did not just happen overnight. Right. And it will take us a little while to get our arms around it. Vaccinations will continue to be looked at and reviewed. Only a handful of countries around the world actually use vaccinations for their egg-laying hens, for their chickens. And so we want to make sure that ultimately for our families, for the safety of our food supply, food security is national security. All of these questions are extremely important. I'll be talking a little bit more about that tomorrow.
Secretary, just really quickly, you mentioned the problem didn't happen overnight, and it's just obvious that the past 37 months, I mean, the Biden administration did almost nothing to try to get on top of this. But you know, what's kind of your sense of time? I'm a big egg eater. Our family just if we can find eggs, we eat them, okay? Are we, you know, is this something that over the course of a year gets resolved faster than that? What's kind of your best estimate on it?
Well, and to your point, I've got 4 teenagers at home, right. So I certainly understand this in my pocketbook as well. This should be over the course of the coming months. We are rolling out a pretty significant plan tomorrow that is sort of an all-of-government approach, but also, and perhaps differently than the last administration, working with those on the ground, the governors, the mayors, the local government officials, the ag commissioners, the state veterinarians. What's you know, important in Iowa may not help that much in Texas, and Alabama to New York. So ensuring that we, again, have an all-of-government approach. We're moving at light speed to ensure we're bringing relief as soon as is humanly possible under this administration.
Have the supplies, egg supplies, improved, Secretary?
They will. We have had to depopulate under the Biden administration almost 150 million hens, which is hopefully that will never happen again for a lot of reasons. We are beginning to import. I just met with Ag Commissioner of Texas, Sid Miller. He let me know that they are working to import some eggs from the country of Turkey, not turkey eggs, but the country of Turkey. So there will be some slight import, I think, to immediately address the shortage. But eventually, we will get our arms around this. We will hopefully solve for the avian flu. We will get the cost of inputs down. Right. We will lift regulations. And ultimately, it is not just one reason that eggs are so high. It's a myriad of reasons that we are working to solve every day.
Want to get you on this one, too, Secretary. So your department is looking at banning buying junk food with SNAP benefits. And on its surface, that sounds completely reasonable to me. And I wonder why that hasn't happened before. Talk a little bit about that.
You know, when you think about Joe the plumber, right, from Fort Worth, Texas, my hometown, who works every day, he gets up, he works every single day and pays his taxes every single year, and you think, what is the best use of his tax dollar that he's putting into the system? I think no one in America really thinks that we should have no safety net. I think we all agree that this is America. A safety net is important, and getting food into the mouths of perhaps hungry children is important. But this is the nutrition program. These are food stamps to allow nutrition to move into some of these poor communities and poorer families. The idea that Joe the plumber's tax dollar is paying for sugary drinks, candy, etc., to at a time when these kids need nutrition more than any other time. I don't know that anyone thinks that's a good idea. So working with Bobby Kennedy, Secretary Kennedy, ensuring, and most importantly with our governors around the country, we just had 46 of them at the White House late last week and through the weekend. I got to sit down with many of them, Republicans and Democrats, who really want to work with us on this. And I think we're going to make some really healthy changes for our country.
Amen. Your department is also investigating the University of Maine for openly disregarding President Trump's executive order, keeping men out of women's sports, naturally. And we couldn't pass up the chance to revisit this classic Trump exchange with Maine's governor. Watch this.
Is Maine here, the governor of Maine?
Well, I'm here.
Are you not going to comply with it?
I'm complying with state and federal laws.
We are the federal law. Well, you better do it. You better do it because you're not going to get any federal funding at all if you don't.
And Secretary Rollins, the University of Maine receives over $100 million in USDA funding.
Well, I was sitting in the room for that exchange, and I knew this was not going to end well for the governor of Maine. As soon as she started down this path, I thought, whoo, that is not a good idea for a lot of reasons. The law is the law. The president is very clear. The American people are behind him. He was elected with a popular vote, not just 312 electoral votes. When you poll this issue, 80 to 90% of Americans believe, as the president and our administration does, that it is illegal to have biological males competing in women's sports. And so when you're not going to comply, the president is a get it done leader, and he's going to look for reasons to ensure that you do what the government says what is legal to do. So yes, so USDA, Department of Education, you know, these states get a lot of federal funding, and so if they're not going to comply, every tool is on the table to ensure that the will of the American people and this administration is being executed, and this is just one example of that.
Secretary Brooke Rollins, what a pleasure. Please come back often.
Thank you.
I would love to. Thank you both so much.
The door's open, so to speak. And now I sound like I'm
Anytime.
from Texas. Brooke Rollins, thank you.
Thank y'all.